Hello and welcome to another edition of Cleveland Sports Realm. It is the 25th edition of the program. I'm Jerome. That's Kevin. Derek's over there. You can't see him. We can.
We can.
So, Kevin, let's jump right into it.
Let's do it.
The Cleveland Cavaliers, 1-0 as we record this Wednesday, late afternoon, early evening before they begin.
Just before game two.
Before they begin game two. So, sorry when you listen to this. Well, actually, I'm just going to go. The Cavs will be 2-0 when you listen.
I hope you're right on that, man. I don't want to listen to this tomorrow morning, Thursday morning, when this drops at 8 a.m. and we're sitting 1-1 and you've claimed that we're going to be 2-0.
No. The Cavs,
I think they'll get it done tonight, though.
Cavs will take care of business.
I got a good feeling.
So by the time you folks all see this, they will be 2-0. But let's talk about it, Kevin. We actually dropped the ball last week, and I'll go ahead and take the blame for that. And whether you want to or not, I'm gonna have you shoulder a little bit of the load too. We talked about the plan, and we talked about the Bulls, and we talked about
the Bulls, and then we talked about the
Hawks.
The Hawks. Yeah.
We just totally wrote off the Miami Heat like they didn't have a chance.
Yeah, and I don't know why, and I'm going to actually shoulder the majority of the blame for that because I was the one that brought up the potential teams, and you were basically just going off of what I was saying. So I'm going to shoulder the majority of that blame.
I'm going to shoulder some load, too, because I knew better, and I didn't do it. So we apologize to everybody. Can
I say right now with the Cavs being up 1-0, though, I would have predicted, and I still predict Cavs in 5. Because I said what I would have predicted if they faced the Bulls or the Hawks. I'm going to say Cavs in 5 against the Heat still, though.
I'm going to disagree. Everybody at home, go to your little personalized janitor's closets at home. Grab your brooms. They're sweeping them. All right. So that's the bottom line. But anyway, yeah, so we didn't talk about the Heat being a real option. But, it's not. I know Heat culture is a real thing, and people have talked about that pretty extensively going into this series. But to me, there's just not enough there. Look, Bam's a really, really, really good player. Tyler Hero is an excellent scorer, but he couldn't guard producer Eric if he tried. I mean, he's a horrid defender.
Right.
And so that's tough. Terry Rozier is a good player, but he's not even playing, at least so far. He's not supposed to play tonight. He's going to be out again with the ankle.
Davion Mitchell's a nice player, though.
He is a nice player, and he did well in game one.
Yep.
But overall, there's just not enough there. And then our wings are just much bigger than Duncan Robinson, so the size advantage. Yeah. Basically, all these reasons I give you, there's no reason the Cavs shouldn't sweep.
No, I agree with you. I think they should. I just think at some point, the Cavs have historically, and granted, this is a different team, but the Cavs have historically not played that great in Miami. So I just have a feeling that one of those games, whether it's game 3 or 4, my best bet is probably game 3, just with being in that environment. I think the Cavs might drop one. Not that they would get smoked by 20 or 30, but I think they drop a close game in Miami in game 3 probably. But I still think they win the first round at home, game 5, and go from there.
Yeah, well, I think the Cavs are going to sweep. I mean, I think Miami might play one close at home, but look, the other thing with Miami, and this is true for a lot of Miami sports, the best Miami sports fans don't live in the city of Miami.
Right.
So, that's particularly true with the Miami Dolphins in football. But, the Heat fans, I don't really know how well they're going to show up, right? They're kind of a bandwagon fan base to begin with and have been known for that. So, if their fans, Kevin, don't think that they have a real shot at this, I don't really know how many people are going to be there game 3 or 4. And let's say they do show up early, they're not going to stick around.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not like a blowout. Yeah, I mean, if it's a blowout, then they'll leave early.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think it could be a blowout, and they're not going to stick around. So, I don't really know what home court advantage the Heat will have down there. I don't think much of one at all.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's a fair point. But, I mean, we saw those Miami Heat crowds get rowdy even when, during the Jimmy Butler era, the last couple years where, the opposing team would go in there. I think Milwaukee was a little bit shell-shocked when they had gone in there. So, yeah, I mean, Miami can be a tough place to play when the fan base is actually bought in. Because, to your point, they are absolutely a front-running fan base. But when they're good, the fans do show up. They absolutely show up, and they show out for the Heat. Yeah, I think the fans are going to be a little bit too much in Game 3, and that's about it. But yeah, I still Cavs in 5. But going back to Game 1, just reviewing Game 1 really quick, to what you were saying earlier with the players that the Heat have. The Cavs showed, if Donovan Mitchell's not going to drop 30, Darius Garland dropped 30, Evan Mobley, Evan Mobley had one of the most pedestrian stat lines I've seen from Evan Mobley this year, and then Ty Jerome goes out and drops 28. So just the depth with this Cavs team, especially in the early rounds, like this round, next round in particular, whether we face the Pacers or whether we face the Bucks, I think our depth along with that starting lineup is just going to be too much for anybody to handle until they inevitably face Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. Look, I think Evan Mobley in Game 1 for me, and I know these. I can't talk tonight. Know this as well because he watched the game with me. But man, he did do a lot of little things that just aren't going to show up in a box score.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He does good switching on the guards and stuff like that. And obviously, like those missed shots don't show up in the stat line when he's switched on to people.
Well, and then the other thing, like Jared Allen didn't have much of a great game either. But like, look, that's where their best player is down low. So like, to me.
Yeah,
the Cavs kind of gave you the blueprint of how they're going to sweep the series. It's going to be guard play because our guard play is just so much far superior to the Heat guard play. So like maybe the Cavs big men don't show up that much in the first round, but they're going to need those guys to get where they want to go.
Yeah, and looking at the longevity of what could potentially be a great playoff run here, I think looking at next round, and obviously Indiana's up 2-0 right now. So it's looking like it would be in favor to face Indiana, but if we were to face a Milwaukee next round, I think it would be almost like the same story. Giannis down in the paint. Giannis, obviously a great defender. If he's matched up on Allen or Mobley, I don't feel confident as a Cavs fan in either of them being able to get to the rim and create their own shot. So again, it would come down to guard play there as well.
Yeah, I agree, and I like the Cavs' chances there too.
Yeah.
Again, you just brought it up, and it's so true. The depth is remarkable. Yeah. And, I mean, they played 10 guys. Now, do I think they're going to end up playing 10 the whole way through the playoffs? No, I don't think that's going to happen. But for now, you could beat the Heat playing 10 guys. Why not? Even Sam Merrill got in, cashed in 6 points. It was interesting. The Cavs had 34 bench points. 28 came from Ty Jerome, 6 from Sam Merrill. Nobody else on the bench scored. That's going to have to change. They're going to have to get more than just Ty Jerome.
I 100% agree.
Scoring off the bench as they move forward.
And I thought DeAndre Hunter got 2 or 3 points. Did he not?
He did not.
Okay, well, yeah. And DeAndre Hunter was literally a non-factor, and he's supposed to be almost kind of like that X factor for us when it comes to switching on positions 1 through 5, being a great defender, hitting down those 3-point shots. He basically it seemed like almost not on the floor for Game 1, and we won by 20 points against a Heat team.
He played 16 minutes, but it was not a very highlight reel 16 minutes for him. But look, we sat here and glorified the Cavs making that move. There's going to be a time and a place for DeAndre Hunter. I don't think it's a series either, but there will be, and they're going to need him down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to if they do face an Indiana or when they face an Indiana or Milwaukee, we're going to need DeAndre Hunter big time. And like we were mentioning earlier, when they inevitably face that Boston Celtics team in the Eastern Conference Finals, that is what we acquired him for, was for that Jaylen Brown matchup, for the Jason Tatum matchup. Whenever there's switches, to be able to trust a player like that in that position, a player that's going to hit open 3-point shots. I 100% agree with you. I don't think this is the series for DeAndre Hunter. It might not even be next series, but that conference finals is exactly why this team went out and got rid of Karis LeVert, who was a good player for us, George Niang, who was a great locker room guy for us. They know that he's ready for that next step, and we just got to wait until that Boston series to see if it's going to come to fruition on him.
Well, speaking of which, a little tidbit I'll have for odds and ends later.
Yeah.
About the Atlanta Hawks and that trade.
Okay.
Let's talk about some of the other series real quick. Let's do a quick whip around of the NBA here, and where we think things are going. So. Boston, Orlando, just like Cleveland, Miami, I believe that'll be a sweep too. Your thoughts?
Repeat that. I apologize.
Boston, Orlando, I think just like Cleveland, Miami will be a sweep.
We'll find out when this airs tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., on whether it's going to be a sweep or not, I think. Because tonight would be the night for the Magic to steal one because the Celtics officially ruled out Jason Tatum for tonight's game.
Well, I still
don't see them. I still don't see the Magic winning. I'm going to call a sweep myself, but I think we'll know tomorrow or tonight, I should say, on whether or not it's going to be because this would be the game that the Magic have to win.
Right, and for those of you at home, this is being recorded again Wednesday evening.
Yes.
About
an hour before the Cavs tip off. So,
right. So we could get home and watch that. So, another series in the East, the 4-5. Kevin, Miami, I'm just way off base tonight. Excuse me. Indiana and Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Pacers and Bucks. Pacers up 2-0, and they've kind of really dominated the series at points, and for most of it. I still think Milwaukee could get a couple games here, but I think for my money, I think Indiana in 6.
Yeah, I think that's a good bet. You know, I thought looking at this series beforehand, I thought Milwaukee's star power was going to be too much for Indiana, whether Lillard was going to deal with that blood clot issue or not.
He did come back and play last night.
Yeah, he did. He wasn't very good last night.
No,
though. He was very poor. I think it was 37 minutes, 4-13 from the field. Had like 15 or so points somewhere in there sprinkled in. But I had originally thought Milwaukee would beat Indiana in 6. I thought they were going to steal one of these first 2 games and then end up ultimately winning that series at home in Game 6. And I don't see it playing out like that now, and I might be too heat of the moment. But I don't see this Milwaukee team winning 4 straight, and they got to win 4 out of the next 5 to do so. And the way Indiana's played, the way that fan base has, that Indiana fan base is a pretty underrated fan base when it comes to NBA fan bases.
Well, you know, people always talk about, I mean, Indiana is not the birthplace of basketball, but a lot of times when people think, no matter what level, college, pro, high school, you think of basketball, a lot of people do think of Indiana.
The Indiana Hoosiers, for example.
Sure,
Yeah.
the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I'll say Pacers in
6.
In 6 as well, I think. I think Milwaukee's
So
going
you
to
agree with me?
Yeah, I agree with you in the exact amount of games and the exact team.
All right, let's go to the 3-6 matchup. Right now, you got a 1-1 even matchup there as the Pistons have won their first playoff game since No Choliak was born. No, I'm just kidding. It has been a hell of a long time, though. I believe since 2008.
It was like, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, They did get it done at MSG, probably the toughest place to play in the playoffs as far
One
as
of them.
road venues. And Kevin, a lot of people like the Pistons as an upset, trendy, sexy upset pick. I still think the Knicks have too much here. I think I do like. Well, I'm going to go out. I like the Knicks in 6.
Knicks in 6. I have the exact same pick, honestly, and I would have said it before the series too. Although that Pistons team is so much fun to watch, and this was the matchup that I was looking forward to most in the East, outside of the Cavs, of course. Of actually, how is this series going to play out? Because JB Bickerstaff, he's done a phenomenal job, man. He's done a phenomenal job with that team. At one of the worst teams in the NBA last year, he's got essentially the same exact roster, and they weren't even a play-in team, just right to the playoffs. And obviously, first 2 games at Madison Square Garden, you stole one of them, which is exactly what they needed to do.
Right.
Exactly what they needed to do. But I agree with your point. I think Jalen Brunson is going to end up being too much for them. And can we stop at the foul baiting with him? It looks like James Harden out there from 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, I like Jalen Brunson
My
a lot.
Lord.
And I think he's a hell of a player, but he was a little out of control with that.
He was a little bit out of control. And they're bigs too, Karl Anthony Towns, Mitchell Robinson's been playing, right?
Yeah,
he's been playing pretty well. And then obviously, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, Michael Bridges. That team just gets so deep as well. I should say 6 or 7 deep.
That's all the coach will let him play.
Yeah, 6 or 7 deep but like very good players though on that Knicks team. I think they're going to end up getting it done in 6, but I think they lose next round to Boston regardless.
Okay, so that's it for the East. So if Kevin and I are proved to be correct, because we actually agreed on everything, you'll have a Cavs Pacers and then Celtics Knicks for your Eastern Conference semis.
Yeah.
So we'll see how all that goes.
Yeah.
One thing I just want to throw out there, this is a personal opinion and gripe of mine. I cannot stand how the NBA takes 2 days off in between games when it's not a travel day.
100% agree.
I think that is utterly ridiculous.
I agree.
Like, why didn't the Cavs play last night? I don't know if it's the TV schedule, what it is, which will be interesting. Maybe that'll change next year because obviously the whole landscape of the television and the NBA is changing next year.
Yeah.
With the main carrier still going to be ESPN, and then also NBC taking over for TNT is the other main carrier of the NBA. So that'll be interesting. But again, that drives me nuts. I get it when you're traveling. Like the Cavs and Heat play tonight. They will play again on Saturday. But the game should have taken place last night. Bottom line.
See, if I wasn't such a diehard NFL draft fan, I would agree with you. But the way that they spaced out this week is that the Cavs won't be playing Thursday or Friday, so I get to watch all 3 of the rounds without having to have split screen. So I'm pumped. I'm pumped, and then I get the Cavs on Saturday.
Yeah. Well,
it ends up working out great for
NFL. But even you might go split screen on Saturday because I could see you, and you'll watch rounds 4 through 7.
I'll watch at least rounds 4 and 5, and then I'll be in and out of rounds 6, 7. But I'll definitely be watching rounds 4 and 5 100%.
All right. Well, anyway, let's talk about the Western Conference real quick here, Kevin. Do we even want to waste our breath in our lovely, great listeners' time of day talking about Oklahoma City, Memphis?
You know what's funny about that series, man, is I originally said Thunder in 5. I thought the Grizzlies would have been able to take one. I don't think that's the case anymore.
Oh, I think
it's Thunder.
I don't think there's a stone's throw in hell they have a chance to take a game in that series.
I think if you can go into your janitorial closet and grab out that broom, if I was a Thunder fan, that's exactly what I would be doing.
Oh, they should have been carrying the brooms out of the it used to be called the Ford Center. I have no idea what it's called now. Paycom Center.
Okay.
They should have been carrying the brooms out of the Paycom Center the other night. And also the Grizzlies, I mean, if you lose by 50 in a postseason game, I don't care that it's only game 1. That is super, super, super hard to come back from.
Yeah, I would agree. What's funny is that like games 2 and 3 are obviously not playing from behind 50, but just that the morale of getting smoked by that much has got to be deflating if you're a Memphis Grizzly. It has to be.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go to the 2-7 matchup. A lot of people would look at this matchup if you're casual and say, wow, okay, so Golden State's a 2 seed and Houston's a 7. No.
Opposite.
Flip that around. But Golden State's been here, done that. The 2 seeds all new to this. Houston, I don't think, has really made the playoffs and probably since maybe once since James Harden was still there. It's been a long time. Obviously, Golden State is up 1-0. They played tonight as well after the Cavaliers play.
Yeah.
I would love Houston to win this series. I really would. I can't stand Golden State still. I still hold a vendetta. I don't know though.
There's a respect there though. Like
It's
over the
tough.
years ever since LeBron left and the rivalry hasn't been what it was from 2015 to 2018. I still despise Golden State, but there is a respect there of what we went through those 4 years and battling each other. And, a couple years ago when the All-Star game was held in Cleveland, Draymond Green and Cavs fans had some fun with each other. Like, just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There is a mutual respect there, I feel like, between the Cavs and the Warriors. But I'm with you. I've got Warriors in 6, I think, in this one. I don't know if...
I didn't get my prediction yet. I was still a little bit...
it sounded like you were leaning Warriors.
I was, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Warriors in 6?
Warriors in 6.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go with my heart here just for the hell of it.
Sure.
Why not Houston in 7? We need I was going to say we need an upset.
It kind of would be. Like, from our standpoint, it would be.
From the fan standpoint, but, not from the technical thing.
Exactly.
Technical standings.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go 3-6, which I...
Lakers.
Yeah, Lakers and Timberwolves. This is 1-1 right now. Timberwolves blew them out in game 1. Then the Lakers come back, respond well, and hold the Timberwolves to only 85 points last night. This one's going to be close. I like the Lakers in 7, though. I think this is going 7.
I was really hoping we were going to differ on this one because I've got Lakers in 7 myself. The star power of Anthony Davis, defense of Rudy Gobert, star power of Luka and LeBron, same team.
Whoa, Anthony Davis.
Or, what...
Julius Randle, maybe?
No, Rudy Gobert. I don't know why I said Anthony Davis. I was talking about Rudy
We're a little
Gobert,
off
though.
tonight,
Yeah,
folks.
I don't know why I said Anthony
Folks,
Davis.
we're going
but
to take this time to apologize, please. This has been a little bit.
yeah, so defensive Rudy Gobert with Anthony Davis in the backcourt, and then obviously Luka Doncic and LeBron James on the other side. I think it's going to be a great battle, and I don't really see any team having such a lopsided advantage over the other one that I do think that this goes the distance, and I think the Lakers are going to be representing the West in the finals. So because of that, I'm picking the Lakers.
Okay. Yeah, I pretty much echo everything you said. I agree with every syllable that came out of your mouth there. So
Outside of the Anthony Davis portion.
yeah, that was
evidently.
terrible. But besides that, let's go the 4-5 then. Denver and the Clippers. I like Denver. You know, I they're in a bizarre spot. Denver is. I mean, that's got to be one of the latest anyone's ever fired their coaches before a postseason run. I mean, that was ridiculous. So I don't know. I just feel like I have no real good merit or statistical analysis to pick Denver besides literally I think they have the best player in the league on their team, and that's why they're going to win.
Yeah, they have the best player in the league on their team, and they've done it before. They've won a championship before with this team. So obviously different head coach at the realm, obviously. But yeah, I'm going Denver as well. I'm going to go Denver in 6.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go Denver in 7, just to differ. Okay, so maybe some of these series will be over by next week. Who knows? No, it's the NBA playoffs. We got to take 6 days vacation in between games. So probably not. Anyway, obviously we'll keep you guys updated. And
who's your finals prediction?
Cleveland and the Lakers.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Who wins that series and how many games, if that's what it ends up being?
Cavs in 6.
The Cavs are going to beat the Lakers in L.A. for the championship?
That's
Man, LeBron would be crying.
I don't know if he'd be crying, but he wouldn't be too thrilled.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a deep down vendetta part of LeBron that hates the Cavs are good now?
Absolutely.
I do too.
Absolutely.
I do too.
He's been known as the only guy that's ever been able to elevate this franchise or whatever. He bounces, and 4 years later, we're back. Sam Ellinger.
Yeah. No, yeah, I know what you were doing there.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't think he holds a major grudge, but I think there's a tiny little miniature grudge.
I think well, I wouldn't even know if I don't know if I'd say if it's a grudge, but just like he just despises it. Like he just despises.
I wouldn't say despises. I think aggravated by it, maybe be the appropriate word.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, definitely would. Yeah, aggravated goes hand in hand with despise, I guess.
No, despise is a much more strong term.
Yeah, but it's a stronger aggravation.
Sure. Well, no, despise is downright hatred.
Yeah, but you don't hate somebody that you're not aggravated by. Everybody that I hate, I get aggravated with.
Okay. How much people you hate? Or how many folks you hate over there? Hater.
I got about 10.
Oh wow.
10 off the dome.
Derek, that's a little much. Derek's jaw dropped.
Well, 10 people that consistently aggravate me. I'd say there's probably like 2 to 3 people that I hate.
Hate's a strong word, man. I don't know about all that. Derek, what do you think? A little much.
You think it's a little strong? That's fine.
He thinks it's a little much. Derek's jaw drop over there. I mean, he's sitting at his desk. His desk had to catch his jaw when Kevin said he hates 10 people. I mean, he was just flabbergasted. That's too many. All right, let's move on here. Kevin, let's get you all riled up and fired up now.
Let's go.
Tomorrow is like your favorite sport.
Woo!
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if sporting event.
It's my favorite sporting event.
It's men in suits.
Yep. You were watching the Masters a couple weeks ago. That's what you were doing. You just like people putting on green jackets. I said that a couple weeks ago. I'll say it again. That's exactly what's going on.
Fine.
I like the Masters though.
So, yeah, you do now.
Yeah.
Finally, it's here tomorrow. Thank the good Lord above, because I am so sick of hearing about it. I'm so over it. I've been over it for about 6 weeks. I just want the Browns to select somebody. I don't really even care who it is at this point. I'm just over it.
No one is going to be more livid than I am going to be on Saturday when Mystery Relevant's name is called and the draft's over. I'm going to be absolutely furious. I'm going to have to wait a whole calendar year for it to happen again.
I wish they happened like every 2 years.
Come on.
You know.
So draft season. Draft season is upon us. Draft season is tomorrow. Travis Hunter locked in at 2.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, I believe it too.
I believe it. It will be cool that it's at Lambeau. It's in Green Bay.
I think that is cool. I think that is a very cool. It's going to be cool to see all the cheeseheads there.
Yeah,
and they're picking, I believe, 23rd this year. So they'll have to wait a little bit. But yeah, drafting Green Bay, and what a great fan base too. Honestly,
they
to
have
have that. I'm expecting a pretty big crowd there. I'm hoping that there's a big crowd there at least.
I believe there will be. Let's talk about the Browns angle of it. We went in and did a pretty deep dive last week on what we think the Browns are going to do, but it is the last recording for us. The last time you'll hear for us before you'll hear from Roger Goodell with the Browns' second overall pick. So, Kevin, you just kind of said it, but you officially want to tell our listeners you believe it will be Mr. Travis Hunter at 2, and there's no other ways about it.
Yeah, I do believe it's going to be Travis Hunter at 2, and I've almost talked myself into wanting Travis Hunter at 2. I still would say, first and foremost, I want to hear Abdul Carter's name for the Browns when Roger Goodell steps up there. But the more I've been looking at it with Travis Hunter, I think he does have the highest floor in the draft as well as the highest ceiling. And what I mean by that is I think worst case scenario for Travis Hunter is that he can't beat corners as a receiver. He's not good enough to beat NFL talent as a receiver, and he's not good enough to guard NFL wide receivers. I think that's worst case scenario, which sounds horrible considering that you're drafting a receiver and a corner and he might not be able to do both or either at the NFL level. But I think worst case scenario, you actually end up putting him at free safety and he just ends up being one of those roamers out there. And I trust him to keep everything in front of him from what I've seen of his tape at Colorado. And I think he'd be a ball hawk if that's the worst case scenario. Highest ceiling, best case scenario, he's elite on one side and he's elite when he's sprinkled in for the 20 to 30 snaps on the other side, and you end up getting the best player in the draft. So I don't really think the Browns can lose by taking Travis Hunter. I just think, the upside with Abdul Carter being opposite of Myles Garrett would just be too much for me to pass on. But I'm not going to be mad when they read Travis Hunter's name tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm fully in belief it will be Travis Hunter myself. And, I really have nothing else to add because you pretty much hit on a lot of different things there. I do think the kid's going to turn out to be a pretty damn good receiver. I really, really do.
And I think he's a better receiver than he is corner, actually, which is kind of a hot take, but I actually believe that.
I think he's a hell of a corner, too. What will ultimately end up happening is the Browns will go to OTAs here. They will go to minicamp, and by the second week of training camp, I totally expect him to only be playing one side of the ball.
Same. I expect him to be our number one wide receiver, and Jerry Jeudy's going to end up having to take that step back, and we'll see how he ends up adjusting to that.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily because if let's say that's an interesting thing that I do want to talk about, because if Travis Hunter, how I predict it to go, is only playing receiver, then yes, I think he could be number one. But if they have him playing both ways, I think it's a lot. Therefore, I think Jerry Jeudy's still the number one guy.
Yeah, I just don't see it happening year one with Travis Hunter playing both ways. And I don't think you're taking a number 2 receiver with the number 2 overall pick. So I think as soon as you draft him and he's in the lineup running plays with the offense, I think he immediately becomes your number 1 because of the draft stock that you have in him at that point.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, Jeudy had a hell of a year last year.
Yep. Pro Bowl.
The good thing for the Browns is that if Jeudy becomes your 2, he becomes like one of the better 2s in the entire
Yeah,
NFL.
He's up there with the Devontae Smiths, the Jalen Waddles. He immediately becomes in that conversation, probably a top 5. I'll say top 10 just to be on the conservative side, top 10 number 2 receiver in football. But although I would think that he'd be in the top 5 number 2s in football.
I believe
at that
he'd
point.
be in the top 5.
Yeah.
I mean, the numbers he put up last year, and you got to think about who was playing quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, it was comparable to when Josh Gordon used to put up great numbers with awful quarterback play too. I mean, and quite honestly, Jerry Jeudy might have had worse quarterback play.
You could make that argument significantly. You could actually, I would actually say 100%. I'm thinking about it. I mean, he was playing with Bailey Zappi and DTR the last 4 games of the year, was he not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think that immediately. Whereas Josh Gordon, Brandon Whedon obviously wasn't great, but I did like Jason Campbell when he was out there. Brian Hoyer was out there that year for a couple games. Josh Gordon.
They were together in 2014. Yeah, you.
Well, and 13.
Yes.
He tore his ACL against the Bills.
Before Hoyer did tear his ACL. Yeah, also, you forgot to throw Deshaun Watson's name in there, and I'm not going to miss an opportunity to criticize him. He deserves it.
He deserves it.
That's right. For what he put the fans in this town through. Anything else you want to hit on in the draft? I mean, we dove pretty far into pick 33 next week. I know you think in the third round they're for sure going to go running back, huh?
I think if it's not at 33, I think the third round they have to take one of these running backs because it's such a running back heavy draft, and you don't want those like the
deep
top
class.
Yes, it's a very deep class, and you don't want one of those top 10 running backs that are available in this draft to get by you. And I think at the end of round 3, it would be pretty much depleted. So I would look at a running back depending on who's available there at 33. We touched on a couple names last week, but I think the third round I do think is, if they don't take one at 33, I think one of those picks is a lock to be a running back. And I think if he falls there I just have this gut feeling that the first pick in the third round for the Browns is going to be Quinshon Judkins. I feel like he's almost destined to be a Brown. I feel like he's almost destined to be a Brown. And I think he'd fit in well here. But yeah, I definitely think that that's going to happen.
I was talking to a coworker of mine who likes Quinshon a lot, but told me, and it's a very similar opinion you've expressed to me, he thinks personally that TreVeyon Henderson's going to be a better pro. Yeah,
I think TreVeyon Henderson, and this is very much a hot take, I think he's the best running back prospect in this entire class. I briefly touched on it last week.
You think he's better than the Boise State kid,
I think he's better than Genty.
Wow.
I do think he's better than Genty.
Wow, I'm blown away by that.
I think he's quick. Genty's stronger. I think Henderson's quicker. I think Henderson's faster. I think he's a better catcher of the football. Like, I think there's a multiple things that Henderson does better than Genty. And for some reason, and I've watched the tape on like Amari and Hampton, and he is a very, very good running back, but there's nothing that blows me away to where I would pick him in the first round.
Real quick, do you think there's any shot that TreVeyon would go in the first round?
I do. And I think this is the only way that it happens. I guess there's a couple different ways. I think Genty's obviously got to go.
Please elaborate.
Genty's got to go top 5 or 6. Like, the lowest that he can go is to the Raiders at 6. And it's got to be one of those situations where Chicago at 10 takes Amari and Hampton, almost like we saw the Lions take Jahmyr Gibbs a couple years ago, where nobody thought that really had a chance of happening. And I think the Broncos are a running back away on that offense to where they're almost locked into a running back this year, unless that tight end from Michigan, Colston Loveland, dropped to them.
Good.
Yeah, I think he's going to end up being a top 15 pick.
And I don't say that about Michigan players freely. There's a lot of talent there.
No, I think he's going to end up being a top 15 pick. Unless he slides, I could see Denver going Loveland. But I think Henderson could be a Bronco at pick 20. I think he could go that early, and a sneaker team for Henderson that nobody's really talking about. I could see the Chiefs do what they tried to do with Clyde Edwards-Helaire a few years back in 2020 and take him at the end of the first round.
Well,
I know they've got Pacheco, Kareem Hunt. I understand that, but
yeah, but the Chiefs they plug and play running backs, man.
I know
they've used everybody from Jerick McKinnon to.
Oh, I know.
I mean, they've had a bevy of names line up behind Pat Mahomes. So
they still took one in the first round in 2020.
That wouldn't surprise me either. Now that I really think about that. Ohio State should have a handful of players, I believe, go in the first round. What do you think there, Mr. Draft Guru?
Yeah, I would say so. I think Josh Simmons is a lock for the first round. I think Emeka Ibuka is going to sneak into the first round for sure. I don't know why I'm blanking on a couple Ohio State players right now. Yeah, I think Ohio State will be well represented in the draft as a whole. I could see them having 10 players drafted by the end of round 3.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of talent there.
Yeah.
All right. One last thing I wanted to ask you about, and
yes.
I appreciate all the insight because you obviously are all over this stuff. Where do you think Will Howard falls, and how good are how realistic is it that he's a Cleveland Brown?
I don't think the Browns are going to do it with Will Howard because everything that I've read has said they really haven't been as involved with him in terms of like let's going out to dinner or having him in for a meeting or anything like that. So I don't think it's going to be Will Howard as the quarterback that we take in this draft, as much as that pains me to say. I think
I just love hearing you glaze the Buckeyes. Like, this is awesome. Keep talking.
Listen, this is how, but also this is how you know that I'm very objective when looking at things. I hate Ohio State. I've been on record saying that. I've said it the last 3-4 times I've been glazing over the Ohio State Buckeyes, but Yeah, I don't think Will Howard gets out of round 3. I think there's going to be one team that really, really likes him and is confident enough in him to take him in the 3rd round. I don't think it's going to be the first pick in the 3rd round for the Browns. I pray to God if we do not take him at 33 and do not take him with the first pick that we have in the 3rd round, at the end of the 3rd round, that he's still there, because I think
I don't know about that.
I don't think he's going to be. I don't think, but that's what I'm saying. I would pray to God that he's still there if we don't have a quarterback up to that point. I think he's the perfect quarterback to sit behind Joe Flacco for a year. You know, he's a college veteran, for lack of a better term. I don't care about the talent around him. You know, he completed 70+% of his passes, and he looked the best when the lights were the brightest. I want Will Howard as a Cleveland Brown.
Yeah, I'd love it. I don't know that it is going to happen, though. Like I said, I talked about last week, and, you know, we actually posted the clip to our social media. And thank you to many of you out there who engaged and commented with it. I believe that there's a chance the Browns still could take a quarterback at 33 or trade back up into that 1st round. They have the ammo to do that. Now, they definitely, I don't think, would do that for a Will Howard kind or Will Howard type, but like a Jackson Dart, as I mentioned last week on the podcast. Or a lot of people who cover the Browns, Tony Grossi's been banging the drum for months now. He really believes they love Jalen Milroe.
That's what I've heard too. That's what I've heard, and that's probably what my guess would be at pick 33. Even if they move up, you know, 1 or 2 picks to get that 5th-year option, and we had mentioned this a couple episodes ago, but maybe give away 1 or 2 of your 6th-round picks to move up a few picks. To get that 5th-year option, I'm all about it. I really don't care about those 6th-round picks at all. So give them up if you need to get that 5th-year option. I get the intrigue around Milroe. I get it. Nobody really runs as fast as him at the quarterback position, and that includes Lamar Jackson. Andrew Berry had said that. He's got a very powerful arm. It's just one of those things that he's almost throwing at the receiver as opposed to where the receiver is going to be. So a lot of those passes end up being inaccurate. But Kevin Stefanski prides himself on the system of throwing in rhythm. You know, you practice the throws, throw to your spot in this rhythm, and maybe that is the offense that Jalen Milroe would thrive in. So
yeah, I think it's interesting. That,
I do too.
He's a very interesting prospect to me. I'm not in love with him. I don't think he's phenomenal, but I definitely wouldn't be angry if the Browns took him all in one.
Yeah, this is my standpoint on it, is that I think I've officially decided I do not want a quarterback at 33, and I don't want them to trade into the 1st round for a quarterback. I'd rather wait until round 3 for a Will Howard with the 1st pick in that 3rd round. That's what I would do. And just the reason for that, you know, if the Browns give up their 2nd-round pick and a couple of those 6th-rounders move into the 1st round, get that 5th-year option, you have invested now a 1st-round pick into a quarterback. If you stink this following year, and it's supposed to be a heavy quarterback class, we don't know how these prospects are going to look, but you know, with the Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward in this draft, people saying that they'd be the 5th or 6th best quarterback in any other draft, I want my pick of the litter or a couple picks or have some options on the board in next year's draft or the draft after if it is a better quarterback class. I don't want to have so much invested in that position where you're almost throwing a flyer at a guy to where you can't pick one next year, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, the whole thing about this quarterback class, we had someone comment on TikTok that they think this is the worst quarterback class they've seen in years.
I think 2013 was worse. That was the E.J. Manuel. He was the only 1st-round quarterback in that class. 2020.
Well, what about Christian Ponder? Didn't he go that year? Or am I mixing up years?
That was the Jake Locker year, which would have been 2011.
Oh boy, yeah, I was totally.
Blaine Gabbert was in that draft, I believe.
Yes.
And Cam Newton.
Yes,
it was
Cam
that draft.
was 1 overall.
Yep.
Okay, well, it'll be interesting. Like, I will watch tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And I will probably watch a little bit Friday. I got some other things I got to take care of on Saturday. I'm probably not watching rounds 4 through 7.
I'm going to throw out, I think 2022 was probably the worst draft class that we've seen. It was 22 or 23, whatever. Oh, it would have been 22. It was Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis. Those are the top 2 guys. Desmond Ridder, Bailey Zappi, and I think there's another name in there. That was, I don't think one starter came out of that class.
That was
even one.
That was Malik Willis. Was he in there?
Yeah. Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, Bailey Zappi, Desmond Ridder.
Kenny Pickett was the only kid who won the 1st round quarterback wise, I believe.
Yeah, we've got him.
Oh boy, the fun just
Said,
can't begin.
Boy.
Oh my. Anyway, it will be interesting. Obviously, you know, I'm going to say it. It probably doesn't even really need to be said. This is a huge, huge night for AB.
Oh,
he knows it. The fans know it. The ownership group knows it. Kevin Stefanski knows it. This is sink or swim, buddy. And you better swim because we need it bad.
Yeah, they need it horrendously bad. Andrew Berry's only had 2 first-round picks to his name. He's been here for 5 complete seasons and coming up on his 6th. And your first 2 first-round picks that you had, one was horrible. The other's been about an average player in the league, so by no means a bust. But it's a first-round pick.
That is.
Yeah, Greg Newsome. It's by no means what you want out of you would want more elite play out of Greg Newsome. So, this is your first pick where you essentially have your pick of the litter, essentially, because if you're excluding quarterbacks, you're going to take the best player on the board at pick 2, or at least who you feel like is the best player on the board at pick 2. And that player better hit. That player better hit because your last 3 first-rounders were spent on the Albatross.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we'll break it down next week, and I think we'll be talking a little bit more about Travis Hunter next week. Well, we both think that, actually.
Yeah, and if you're following us on X at CLE Sports Realm, you might even see some of our opinions.
Yeah.
Live.
Absolutely. So, yeah, follow us on X and Instagram and TikTok and all that. Like all the things. We'll tell you that again at the end of the program.
Yep.
Okay, let's hit some Gardos real quick, as some folks like to call them. Kevin and I'm going to start with a little personal experience. I took the road trip down to Pittsburgh to PNC Park with a shout out to our good buddy who listens to the program, Philly Ann, my dad, Philly Ann's dad, and shout out to all those guys. We had a really good time. We enjoyed it, and it was pretty cool, I must say, to watch Skeens in person. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, did you end up getting a bobblehead? Because that was the game, right?
Yes, it was. I got a story there for you.
Okay, yeah, let's hear it.
But it was pretty cool to watch Skeens in person. It was even cooler to watch Manzo hit a river ball off Skeens.
Out of the stadium.
In person, into the Allegheny River. And if you're unfamiliar, it literally is right behind PNC Park right field. Manzo on one hop into the river. That was pretty awesome. So real quick on the Skeens bobblehead. So go check into our hotel, and then we take the public transit system down there. I believe it's called the T. So we take that over to the stop right outside the stadium. We come up, and we are just baffled. I mean, they are lined up for bobbleheads all the way down the bridge, which enters the one gate, across the whole river, down the whole strip of bars, practically all the way over to Acrisure Stadium, which is, it's close to it, but it's still a long way to be lined up. I mean, Kevin, I've gone to a lot of sporting venues. I've never seen a line like this for the bobbleheads. So my dad, my buddy, we look at each other and we say, no bobblehead's worth that line. We wanted them. We wanted them bad. We said, it ain't worth it. It's 85 degrees out. It's hot. So we're going to go get ourselves a few adult beverages. And,
nice.
So that we did.
Because they put a cap on it, right? It was like 15,000.
20,000. So those folks who got their Skeens bobbleheads worked out for us for 4:05 first pitch. We come parading on in about 3:45 or so. No line, no security. Okay, this is working real nice.
Right.
Get in there, and in the third inning, they announced everyone's going to get Paul Skeens bobbleheads. So we will get our Paul Skeens bobbleheads.
Nice.
And we didn't stand around and bake in the sun for 4 hours to do so.
Yeah, if you were one of those people, you had to have been pissed.
About
right?
that announcement?
100% you had to have been pissed.
Oh, yeah.
I'm guessing they gave you like a coupon or something.
Yeah,
that
we got a voucher.
A voucher to redeem.
We'd be able to redeem it. So.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I would have rather just had the voucher and save a couple hours of my time. Well, actually, more than a couple. I mean, people were out there for like 10 hours, were they not?
Yeah, they were camping out supposedly. And
yeah, that's insane.
I mean, it was nuts. I've never seen anything like it. And the Guardians beat them.
Yep.
Wonderful. So not only they beat Skeens, they swept that series and then took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. I mean, that's about as good of a week as you could have.
It is.
I mean, obviously it's not perfect. Perfect would be 6-0, but
sure.
From Friday until today, 5-1, and they've only lost 2 home games thus far. I mean, right now I feel like they're in a decent spot. Lane Thomas goes on the IL. He wasn't hitting the ball anyway, so it's like, does it hurt? Yeah, it is because Lane Thomas has a good track record, but the way Angel's swinging the bat right now, it's not really going to affect him all that much.
No, he's swinging the bat. Angel Martinez has been playing absolutely phenomenal baseball, and had some nice plays in the field as well. Outside of that one that he botched and the ball hit his wrist, but that's like the only play that really stands out to where I'm like, okay, that was a bad play. The other plays, he's been fine out there.
That was against the Orioles, right?
Yeah, that was last week. Yeah. So where do you stand right now? Because I know you've almost made fun of yourself in a way as to where you can get too high, too low. We've won 5 out of our last 6 to what you were just saying. Win the Yankees series, sweep the Pirates.
Also, I didn't get enough Guardians baseball over the weekend in Pittsburgh. Kevin and I went Monday.
Yeah.
Shout out to a good friend of ours, Robbie Becker, hooked us up.
The third.
Yep, took care of us with some tickets. So thanks, Robbie. Great game on Monday we went to.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal game. We were up 6-0 at one point.
Yep. And so where do I stand in general?
Where do you stand in general? Because you're either this team can win the World Series or this team's got no hope. It's never we're looking okay.
Right
so where
now,
do you stand right now?
Right now I feel like they're okay. They're in a decent spot. It's not a great spot. The record, I think they have the third best record in the American League or second last I checked.
Right now.
And that was going into today's game, so it's not going to be anymore because the Yankees beat them today. But I think they're okay. Of course, I'm always going to have some complaints and criticism.
Yeah. So we're 14-10.
Right. Because we were
So we're on pace for 94.5 wins.
Okay.
I'll take it. 94 or 95. I think they were sitting in a good spot right now.
So we got the good, you said it last week on the podcast and you nailed it. Luis Ortiz is either going to be great or he's not going to have it. He didn't have it today.
I said that was what I had said about him and Logan Allen before the season had started. That was in our Guardians preview
show.
That was in our preview show. Yeah.
Well, Logan Allen's been phenomenal. So
yeah, no, I was right about Ortiz. Logan Allen has been great.
We'll see though. It's still so early.
Right.
Logan Allen's been great. I think in general though, they've got to figure out a way how to get more length from the starters. That's one of my big criticisms. My other thing is, I do think it's interesting. Look, the first night when they came home against the Yankees and they went Cade Smith to close it out, that they were never not going to pitch Clase that day because they were never going to pitch Clase that day. He had pitched 3 days in a row in Pittsburgh, high volumes of pitches in all 3 days. I do find it interesting how last night voters said, well, we wanted to give him 2 days off, so we weren't going to go to him again. But Cade Smith had pitched 4 out of 5 days in a row. So in their minds, are they evaluating things right now? I don't think they've yanked him officially yet, but I do think they're tinkering and thinking about things.
I think so too. I think that was just an excuse to not pitch Clase for a couple days, is to give the rest ordeal. Which
I think it was legitimate on Monday. Tuesday, I question it.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, I think they were just let's hold off another game and see when we can throw him back out there. Hopefully he gets in a better headspace because, there's clearly something off right now with Clase because this is not what we've been used to seeing the last 5 years.
I think a lot of people, are looking at it. Is it this? Is it that? Is he losing velocity? The way I look at it, and I know it sounds so basic and elementary, but it's the truth. It does not matter if you throw 100 miles an hour and it cuts. If it is down the middle of the plate, right down Broadway, major league guys are going to crush it. That's what's happening. I know it sounds so simple, but Kevin, I think it's as simple of a fact is he's leaving too many pitches down the middle.
I think he's leaving too many pitches over the middle, but also, and you can maybe counter this if you want. I'd actually love your take on this. But I think it's not the day and age of baseball anymore where there's one guy out there throwing 100. These batters
I agree.
These batters see pitchers that are throwing 100, 98, 99. I mean, some starters like Luis Ortiz is coming out there and throwing 98.
Right.
So when Clase's bread and butter is just throwing it right by you, but some of these pitchers are catching up to that speed, then so are the batters.
Right.
Because you're used to seeing it so many times.
Yep, and you don't think that major league teams in the cages, they have those machines firing 101, 102.
Absolutely,
for sure.
they do.
And your point, your absolute point is right in the sense that back when we grew up, years ago, if a guy threw 100, it was like everybody had to see him. He's must-watch TV. Now, an average major league team, let's say you take the Guardians, for instance, and they play 6 or 7 games a week. They're seeing a guy who could throw 100 at minimum probably 2 or 3 times. So you're right. It's not like it used to be. The other thing I think about Emmanuel Clase is I think he's got to throw his slider more. And I know that Carl Willis has said that they're trying to get him to do that. But until he executes that, he is so hell-bent on that cutter. And I get it. It got him to one of the greatest reliever seasons we ever saw last year.
Yep.
But if you leave the damn thing down the middle, it doesn't do any good. Throw the slider as well.
Yeah, I think so as well, just because obviously it gets them off speed. It kind of has a very similar movement that the cutter does, but obviously what you were just saying, it cuts off speed. I mean, when we were growing up, just kind of going back to that 100-mile-an-hour point, Aroldis Chapman was
he was the guy.
He was the guy out of No Chileric Cincinnati Reds.
That's right. He's smiling and nodding over
Yeah, Aroldis Chapman was the only dude anybody knew that could come in and throw 100.
Right.
And now I would say probably, this might be high, but I'd say 10 to 15% of the league might be able to catch 100.
Yeah,
that might seem high. I don't know, though. Or the pitchers, I should say.
Let's say that at least 20% of the league can hit 97 with their fastball.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
At least 25%. Now, 100, I don't know. 10 to 15 might be too high.
But point being,
it's more than one person.
We might be exaggerating, but point being, we're making a valid point here. But I think they're in an okay spot. I'd like to see them take 2 out of 3 against the Red Sox, who come in this weekend. Thought it was good that Tanner Bybee labored last night and got through it. It looked really rough to start. The guy who I thought Gavin started against the Yankees really, really, really impressed me. So, and shout out to me being dead wrong. I thought Hunter Gaddis was going to have big-time regression. Knock on wood, it doesn't look like there's any of that going on. The guy's got a 0 ERA, and I mean, he's just throwing filthy changeups and blowing fastballs by people. So, shout out to him. He looks great. And overall, like I said, I think they're in an okay spot right now. But I'll probably be upset if they don't take 2 out of 3 against the Red Sox coming in this week.
Yeah, I think they can afford to go 1-3. A sweep, or 1-2, or yeah.
Yeah.
I think if the Red Sox sweep us, then I'll be a little bit concerned, to be honest with you. But I think they can afford to win a game and lose the series, but obviously would love to see them win the series.
Yeah, and then they'll play the Twins next week. Their longest homestand of the season. They're playing good ball. If you haven't been down there yet, the weather is looking pretty nice for the rest of the week. Get on down there and support the boys.
Absolutely. So they deserve it right now. They're playing good ball.
Absolutely.
Guards ball.
That's right. Boy, was that a Guards ball win on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Just vintage Guards.
What game was it where we were up 5-4? Who were we facing? And we got a couple on, and I had said to you, we were watching the game, and I said, only shot we get out of this game with a win out of the 10th inning is if we get a double play. And the next at-bat, it was a double play ball, and then we ended up winning the game 5-4. Was that Yankees?
No, because they won the Yankees 6-4 and then 3-2 and lost today 5-1.
So it would have had to been the Pirates then, right? We were just watching, or was it the Orioles? I think
remember. It was the Orioles.
I'm going to look really quick because I know the final score was 5-4.
I think it was the Orioles, so... All right, well, that'll just about do it for us, but we won't go away without doing our odds and ends first. First thing I had in the show that I wanted to point out earlier, the DeAndre Hunter trade might have been the last domino to fall. The Hawks fired Landry Fields, their GM.
Yeah, and it was the Sunday game against the Pirates.
Okay.
I was thinking of. I just wanted to, Easter Sunday game. I apologize.
Okay, yeah, Clase got the double play. Yes,
yep. I apologize about that interruption.
Oh, you're fine. But Landry Fields, his last move was trading away DeAndre Hunter, which was pretty controversial in Atlanta. So he is now gone. Another quick thing that I wanted to point out, Kevin. Remember how last week that I had said like 1,800 people entered the transfer portal?
Yeah.
I believe it's up to just a few shy of 2,000 as of this morning.
Good Lord.
2,000 players.
That's just college basketball?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
And so you think about it, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I think the other thing is I see like a handful of guys transferring from Florida. Like, why? Why you just won a title? What are you not sticking around for? I don't get it.
Money Manziel, that's what they want.
That's right.
I also have an odds and ends thing, actually. Shout out to John Cena, who's now won the most world championships in WWE history. Only reason I shout this guy out, grew up loving WWE until about age 12, 13, obviously fell out of it. And then I actually did tune on WrestleMania on Sunday and got to see John Cena get the W. I will say the Saturday match between Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk was much better. But John Cena captured his 17th title, now a WWE legend. Not that he already wasn't, but yeah, awesome.
Yeah, and
awesome.
I'll admit I don't know much about it, but I mean, the little I know about the WWE, Cena's. He's a name. He's
one of the guys. He was basically the next Rock.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm glad that they had scheduled it for him to win. Then,
yeah,
if it makes you happy, I'm happy.
They followed the script.
Yeah, as they always do in that. That'll just about do it for us. Make sure to subscribe to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. You know the drill. Please give us a like at CLE Sports Realm, Instagram, Twitter, also known as X nowadays, and TikTok. We are there, here, there, and everywhere. Did I miss any of the
At CLE Sports Realm.
Yep, double down on it. Well, that'll do it for us. We'll talk to you next week. We got draft next week. More Cavs playoffs. Don't miss it. We'll be here to recap it all. For Derek, for Kevin, I'm Jerome. We'll talk to you next week on CSR.
Go Browns, go Cavs, go Guards.